Let's talk firmware updates for your TV, specifically TCL firmware updates for their 2025 TVs, and in this case, it is their mid-tier QM7K, and the issues I found in my initial live stream review. Was this issue due to the dirty screen effect or DSE from the factory or black crushing from bad image processing? Whatever the reason, it made the TCL QM7K look worse than the less expensive QM6K in that scene. Most importantly, you paused your intention to buy this TV until the fix was in. So immediately after that live stream, TCL reached out to me and wanted to share these findings with their engineering team. Apparently, TCL heard you walking away with your wallet. So fast forward this week, and that update did arrive. And so the question you're all wondering is whether this new update fixed anything at all. Well, we'll have both TVs side by side. And then you can decide for yourself whether you're going to open your wallet for the TCL QM7K in 2025. Hey friends, want to upgrade to Windows 11 Pro but can't afford the official price of $199? How about $21 or Windows 10 for $16 with my discount code SF20? Thanks to our sponsor, Whokeys. Yes, Black Friday is here. Get an additional 30% off with my code SF20. Go to Whokeys.com, add Windows 11 Pro to your cart, apply my discount code SF20, and bam, only $21. Here's how we activate it. Go to your Whokeys account at the top right under User Center, click on My Purchased Orders, click on View Keys and Code, click Get the Key, copy the Windows 11 Pro key under Code Card, then go to your system settings, scroll down and click Activation, click Change Product Key, paste the key code, click Next, and you're done. So don't miss out on these amazing deals. Click on my links in the video description below. TV firmware updates. Some people hate them, some people embrace them, while other people don't have a clue. Their TV is getting updated. So if you don't know, your TV gets occasional firmware updates to fix issues. And in this case, the QM7K, well, TCL didn't know some of the issues because it was so early in the year. I did a review a couple of weeks ago, right? We discovered that in the Game of Thrones, Season 8, Episode 3, in this scene in particular, there was some black crushing issues that, well, it made the QM7K look far worse than the lesser QM6K. And compared to the Bravia 9, yeah, it's a problem that needed to be addressed. So after the stream, TCL reached out to me and said, hey, we can fix that. I said, all right. And they even promised a firmware update. But while we were at it, I mentioned, and this is something that TCL should be fixing, should have fixed actually, and that's this red push. There is an oversaturation of red, especially noticeable as you get into the darker scenes, specifically when there's a yellow glow, right, an amber glow. On the TCL TVs, it appears too red, almost brown, and that red overshoot is, well, no bueno, not accurate and kind of unpleasant, right? So I told TCL, hey, can you fix this as well while you're at it? Lo and behold, 2 weeks later, here we are with 2 firmware updates. So here's the interesting part, right? When the first firmware update pushed out, it pushed out as version 201 on my QM7K. And then TCL sent me a fresh QM7K from the factory, and that one updated to version 208. So we have 2 newer firmware updates that we can compare. So let's check it out. We'll start with the first issue, which is that black crush DSE that you saw in the live stream. Well, in version 201, that appeared to be somewhat cleaned up. It looked a bit better, but look at version 208, much better. And so the question is, well, is this processing, or maybe this is just a dirty screen effect, right? That smudginess that all LCD TVs have depending on the panel lottery. Some people will have it worse than others. And in this case, maybe it cannot be fixed in a firmware update because it's unique to this TV. And well, who knows? Maybe after version 208, it will be fixed. But let's move on to the next issue, that red push that we talked about. Did TCL fix this? Well, in the following scenes, I'm going to throw in my reference monitor, the Sony BVM3110, which is fully calibrated. This is what the creator intended. And what do you see? Boom. It appears that 208 addressed the accuracy overall, and it's much closer to the BVM. However, in those darker scenes, there is still a little bit of that red push. TCL, keep on working on it. I think you'll get it right. Now, before we get any further, I want to stop here and give TCL a little praise and recognition for actually doing something with this firmware update. First, they actually improved with version 201. Definitely more improved than what I saw on the live stream, and it's also possible that some of the issues is that DSE. Secondly, though, on version 208 on this other TV, clean, and yes, it is definitely as consistent as the QM6K, thankfully, and arguably it could even take on the Bravia 9. So what does that lead me to tell you guys in terms of my conclusions about TCL? The firmware updates, solid and prompt. Hopefully you keep it up this year. As long as they know, they'll do it. And that leads me to a larger discussion about firmware updates. You don't know what you don't know. In other words, the TV makers don't know what's a problem unless we as reviewers tell them, or enough of you go into support and say, hey, this is a problem. But I find it's more effective when I tell them because I actually have their ear, right? So this tells me that if you guys share with me on the live stream in the comments section the issues you have with your TCL, I will make an attempt to distinguish whether this is an issue that can be fixed with a firmware update, or maybe you just lost the panel lottery and would need to get a new TV that doesn't have the dirty screen. Either way, let's work on getting your TV better with these firmware updates. And this applies to all brands, not just TCL, LG, Samsung, Sony, Philips, Hisense. It doesn't matter. If I have the TV, I can test it, I can share my experiences with you, and vice versa. We can together tell the manufacturers, hey, this is a fix that needs to be done. Some take longer than others because some fixes are more complicated than others, some a little bit easier. Moving forward, the QM7K is definitely now fully recommended. No caveats, it's an excellent TV. However, there are still a few things that need work, and I don't think a firmware update will fix it. It might. The black bars are still way behind the Bravia 9. Maybe look at those black bars, right? Make it a little bit darker. More relevantly to you though, the price, very attractive. I think given the value proposition of this TV and where it's priced at now, I don't know what's going to happen in the future, who knows, right? But assuming prices follow the normal track of TCL TVs by Black Friday, another few $100s off, this is going to be an amazing value if it isn't already a good value. The QM6K still stands strong as the value leader among all TCL TVs, given what you get for the money. I can't wait for the QM8K. Let's see how that performs and compares against the QM7K. Now, if you're asking, okay, what about OLED? What about flagship OLED TVs? Well, later this week on April 12th, we'll be comparing the LG G5 against the S95F, the two flagship TVs of LG and Samsung respectively, throwing in there as well the G4 from last year. How much better is that G5? And the non-matte anti-glare Samsung QD OLED, the S90F. What are you giving up if you don't have anti-glare, but you go a little less bright? We'll have that there too. All this Saturday, April 12th, all-day live stream. Come with your questions, and I'll see you there. Until next time, stop the FOMO.